Okay, well, I have a question for you. Imagine you get the assignment to investigate Dutch war crimes on a large scale. How would you set up your research? Who would you invite to draw the research outline together? Anyone? Jason?
Anybody not linked to Dutch defense, like military organizations?
Yeah. JC says anyone who's not linked to Dutch military organizations. Okay, that's a good answer. So who would you invite then? If you don't invite these people. Okay, well, I would say maybe Indonesian historians or Indonesian organizations, or at least a neutral research institute from another country, maybe. But this is not what the Dutch do. Because when the Dutch create the outline of a big research project focusing on war crimes they themselves committed, they invite as their sparring partners the Dutch Veteran Institute, the Dutch Memorial Committee, and several Dutch organizations that focus on the victimhood of Dutch people during the Japanese occupation and the Bersia. So let me be clear about this. These organizations exist all with the aim to honor Dutch veterans and commemorate Dutch war victims. They have a tradition of framing the Japanese as the great oppressor in Southeast Asia and with framing Indonesians as ruthless extremists. I never caught any of these organizations on any critical note towards the Dutch rule as an extremely violent colonizer. So, how could these organizations ever challenge the existing Dutch master narrative? How could their involvement possibly lead to critical research questions? Well, of course it didn't. And let's not forget that one of the 3 research institutes that execute this whole project is the Dutch Institute for Military History. And this is the exact same organization that has to prove, commissioned by the Dutch state, the reliability of Indonesian witnesses and their stories in the lawsuits filed by Jeffrey Bondag and Lisbeth Zegveld. So, and since this institute only uses Dutch sources, like military reports, their results often oppose stories as being told by Indonesian witnesses. So according to this institute, it means that as long as a story is not written down in Dutch military reports, there is no proof for it. So this research institute that has to execute this critical research project has actually a direct conflict of interest in asking critical questions. So, okay, where is the Indonesian perspective here? Because when this research project was announced, it was framed as a critical project, unique in history and of history writing, because for the first time ever, Dutch historians would work closely together with Indonesian historians. So maybe they invited Indonesian historians afterwards. Well, they invited one, namely Professor Purwanto from the Gajah Mada University in Yogyakarta, and they came to him with a final research outline, and they asked his opinion. Well, and he was not very delighted, so in the end, he decided to start his own research project, separate from the one of the Dutch. So what does this working closely together then mean? So when I asked questions about it, the head of research, Frank van Vree, explained that within the budget of 4.1 million euros, there was room for 4 Indonesian researchers based on local Indonesian salaries. And since this team of Dr. Purwanto is now researching their own separate project, it means that there is no one who is actually critically following the Dutch partners in this. And this Indonesian project team also came up with another question, what the Dutch didn't think of, because they are researching now the influence of the violence in 1945 and 1950 on social structures and trauma within the Indonesian population. So I think we can conclude that there is not such a thing as working closely together within this research.